Hello everyone. This is Maria with mariascraftingcorner.com. Welcome to another coloring class. In this case, we're actually going to color again A Child is Born. I think if you've seen the previous video, you may realize that I was actually putting my hand right on top of what I was coloring, so it's very hard to see what I was doing, and I apologize for that. So I figured we're going to do another video and we are going to color this image again. And I am, just like I said, I am super excited you're here. I hope you enjoyed today's class. If you have any questions or concerns or whatever, down below it's my email, maria@mariascraftingcorner.com. So don't hesitate to let me know if you have any concerns. Also, since you're watching this video, you're probably already in the classroom, so utilize the classroom as an area to ask questions and to share your own creations. Okay, let's go to the crafting table. Okay, here we are. So thank you again for being here. We are going to be coloring A Child is Born, and this is a gorgeous stamp set to color because it's bigger, and so we have a little bit more area to kind of practice our skills, right? So I really like this one. This is the previous one that we colored together in the other video that didn't work. But this is kind of what we're going to be doing today. I think it looks really beautiful. And we may tweak some things. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But for now, this is what we're going to be. This is going to be the base of our work today. Just I want to show you guys the supply list is already uploaded, and it has every single thing that you are going to need, and it is organized per image. So I think it just makes it easier. At least it makes it easier for my brain. So for example, I'm going to take Joseph as an example. So you have the tones for the skin, the pencil that I use, the tones for the hair, you see, and the pencils that I use to define, and so forth. So I really think that that is very organized and helpful. Instead of just telling you, you're going to use these 20 pencils and these 20 markers, and you just don't know where they go, right? So I just wanted to show you that. I'm also going to use it as a base, by the way. This is here is our image. It's already stamped. I use always my Misty, especially for these bigger images, because it's easier to just get a more definite stamp, right? Like, I guess, image when you're stamping. And in this case, guys, I'm still using the River Rock. I have mentioned why I don't use Memento Black ink. It's too dark for my liking. And although you could totally use a smoky slate, it is a little lighter, and because my camera does not zoom super well, I don't want to use this one that is lighter, because then you will have less ability to see what I'm doing. So we're going to stick to that River Rock in there. No matter what, if you have a smoky slate, that will work really well for you. If you want Memento Black ink, that will work really well as well. So we are going to, what I'm going to do, guys, is, and sorry about the move, I'm going to change completely the view, only focusing on the image, and then after that, you'll see movement, and I'll just try to pull down the camera as much as possible, so you have a better view of the image. Okay, guys, now I moved the phone all the way back, and it is quite close, and I hope that these makes it a little easier for you to see what I am doing. I'm pretty sure you can see some sort of the shadow that the phone creates on its own, right? So I'll try to keep these on the higher, lighter area. The other thing is, I'm going to start with the Holy Family. If it takes a long time to color it, because that might be the case, then we'll color the cheeps and the little manger later on, and I'll post a updates of that as well. Okay, so let's get started. So last time we started basically with the skin. The skin is always the easiest area to start, mainly because that way when you are coloring it, if it goes anywhere in, you know, the other areas, unless you're using white, right, or a very light color, it will really not affect anything. But on top of that, when you are coloring sometimes and you have a darker color on the side and you use the skin color, because of the alcohol, the color kind of will blend on the skin, and that is always kind of like it's always sad because you can totally see the bleeding of the marker. I am bringing a piece of white cardstock, guys, that we're going to be using just to show kind of like how we make the color combinations and what's working well and so forth. So we're going to start with the skin tone, and the skin tone we decided, and I say we because on the previous video we had worked very hard finding out which colors we liked the best, but those were the skin tone 700 and the 900. And I'm just going to bring it up here, and I'm, as usual, I am trying all the brushes just to make sure that I, you know, which brush is going to be the lighter and so forth. And I am bringing, let me put this in here so we can try these two. I always mark them, guys. This is important. I think later on you'll really be thankful. So I always put, this is the brush, this is the nib. And if I see any differences, let me bring this up here so you may be able to see. I don't see a whole lot of difference, but sometimes this one, for example, is darker, or one of them are darker, and you actually kind of have like a middle tone that you can utilize as part of your coloring. I don't think we're seeing that today. Sorry guys, I had to go a little bit higher. I know it's not as close as before, but unfortunately the shadow it creates, it was really getting in my way, and I couldn't see well. So like I was saying, these are the two tones we're going to use. It's worth it to write it. So I put skin tone, ST skin tone, right? And the lower or the darker color is 700 and the lighter is 900. Now the other thing that we can do always is kind of like work out how this is going to look when you put them together, right? So when you go, and so we always go on top and beyond. That's how you'll hear me saying that over and over again, and that is what you'll be kind of achieving with both colors. So let's work on that. There is no underpainting. We'll talk about underpainting when the time comes. So we're going to start with the 700. And we're going to start with Joseph. So I'm just trying to make sure that I see that my hand is not on top of everything. So we have in Joseph, we have a neck area. So I'm just going to bring this up here so you can see better. So we have a neck area in here, of course, his face, his ear, and then we have his hands. All those will be colored in skin tone. And then in Mary, we have a little bit of her hand in here, the top hand, her face, and also her neck, and baby Jesus is just his face. So let's get started with Joseph's hand. So I would say we are always have to follow the light, and I'm sorry I'm talking this much, but I always figure the light coming for some odd reason from like the left side. So like if we put the sun in here and that's usually how I color. You can change that, you can put it on front, and so what happens if you put it here, you know, your light is going to go this way, right? If you put it here, it's going to splash this way, and if you put it here, it's going to splash this way, right? And so you'll have to be very mindful about that. It helps to think of where the light is coming so you can, it guides yourself as you are coloring. Now, because I have that, I am going to start coloring we're going to start with his hand. His hand is going to be quite bright, right? Because think about it, the light is here, nothing is in the hand's side. So I am just going to use that same area that the artist used to, it has really thick lines. Let me bring it up again. So if you see here, some areas have very thick lines, like here underneath, like Mary's chin and like with her hair, kind of telling us that there is a darker area there, right? There's a shadow. And so we're going to start there and use that as a guide. So I'm going to color that area a little bit. And then I'm just going to color here on the edge because that would be the only finger that I think will be like in the darker area, and the red, and I'm just gonna follow those lines, and the rest will, if you ask me, I think will be very light. And now I'm bringing 900, and we're just going to go on top and beyond, and that on top and beyond is the key to make things blend better. So don't be shy. On top and beyond. When you do on top and beyond, you actually help the alcohol markers blend with each other, and it just helps tremendously. Now we are going to go here with, I'm going to color very simple Joseph's ear. I'm just going to go from the top, from the bottom a little bit to the top. Let me show you up close. See, just kind of like a little line from the edge to the top. And now I'm bringing 900, and I'm going to do the on top and beyond. And that will just help kind of make note that the ear, you know, that there's a little bit of shadow on the lower area. And same will be here. Now we can tell that this is Joseph's neck here. All this area, I think it will be very dark, right? So I am just dotting there, and I'm going to start in here and dot against the edge of the beer. And when I say dot, it just means that I'm just doing a very little line. And sometimes I am not very good at making little lines, so I use little dots. And because it's alcohol markers, they will kind of like expand a little bit, and that helps, gives that feel of you know, that it's just a unifying line. And we are going to bring on top and beyond and make this that way. And now this is looking a little bit better. Now let's get to his face. Now, if you follow the idea, right, that the sun is right here to the left, then we'll think that this area where the hair is like on top of his forehead will be a little darker. So I'm just putting a tiny bit in of darker area there. And then again, kind of just dotting. I am dotting here at the edge of his face. The last area I'm going to dot is right here where his beard starts towards the edge. So let's see. So the top of his hair up here, I'm not concerned about that because his hair is going to be brown. So really it's going to be on top of it and you won't have any issues. And then right here towards the edge, so between the area where the beard meets the face and towards the left edge. And now the light will be shining really light in here, but a little bit of shadow in there. And then we're going to bring 900, just making sure I have the right one. And we are going to go on top and beyond, like we've mentioned several times, and on top and beyond everywhere, right? And now on top and beyond in here, and we're expanding. Now, the other thing that you remember, I probably, if you've taken other classes with me, you know, but like if you have a alcohol blend, the advantage is that you can make your own darker color. So that's if you go one line on top of the line on top of the line. So for example, that's one line. If I put another you know, another line on top, it gets a tiny bit darker. And if I put another one on top, it's gonna get a little bit darker. And so let me just get a line there. and bring it up here so you can see what I am talking about. After 3 passes, it looks quite darker than the first one. And so that is something that we use a lot when we don't have a variety of markers to utilize. So in this case, what I am going to do is go on top again, a little bit on top and beyond, on top and beyond, on top and beyond of what I already went, the areas I already colored, and I'm just leaving that area of his face where I am thinking is going to be a little brighter, and I'm leaving it white, and now I'm going to go and make another on top and beyond. But that way we just created a much lighter area in his face. So even if we're using just the same color, so there you go, you can see how much lighter that is. And I can see here that there's a little bit of unhappiness like that. You can still see a little bit of his a little bit of the blending. I'm not going to touch it too much yet because sometimes you just need to give it time for that to blend on its own. Now let's go ahead and color Mary's hands. I am just going to bring real quick the nine. Ooh, that's not good. When that happens, it's always very annoying. We'll have to figure out that later on. So always be mindful when you're doing this. But I'm bringing, this is the 700, and I am like literally just coloring that hand. Now if you look at her hand, here's her little fingers. On that one I am coloring dark too, and then the area on her hand, like the lower area, that I'm coloring darker, along with where her sleeve meets her hand. So those areas, and then I'm just going to like come a little bit, just put a little bit in here that marks where the where the where the fingers meet. Sorry, I'm trying to just be careful to not make more mistakes in here with the ink. And then we're bringing the 900, and you figure it out. It's above and on top and beyond. Above and beyond wasn't that Buzz Lightyear, guys? But what we're doing now is on top of what we've colored and beyond, and then we're leaving that last area on its own. Now let's go back again, and I'm opening these with more care now because what I really don't want is for these to happen again, because that actually was supposed to be a lighter area, and we'll have to figure that out together. Now this area, so this is Maria's neck, and obviously all that neck area is on the darker side because it is telling us there that there is shadow that is being created by her hair, and we're going to put that on the 700 and bring in the 900 on top and beyond. Right there we go. And you know what? I'm going to keep them open. That probably saved me some sad moments. And now we're just going to color her face, and kind of doing the same thing. If the light is coming from here, this left area is going to be a little darker, but it is also shown to us by the artist, right? So we have a darker area here, and I'm going to like let that darken, and then I'm very softly going along her hair, and just a tiny bit here on the top, and that's kind of all we are going to color. So a little bit on the chin here, or towards the chin, and then the area where her hair meets her face and alongside her hair. Okay, let me bring it up so you can see up close what I am doing. And now I'm bringing the 900, and we're going to do on top and beyond. So just remember that the 700 and the 900 are two different tones, and we kind of have to work hard at mixing them well, blending them well. So that on top and beyond is really needed, right? And doing another pass will help a lot with that as well. And now I am just coming to do one pass, always on top and beyond. As you guys can tell, I'm always doing on top and beyond. And now I just finished the face. I'm going to bring the 900 just a tiny bit. And I'm going to add a little bit of color there, just to make it a little darker. And I'm going to add a little bit of color in here. And I'm bringing back again the 900. I just feel that needs to be a little darker. Okay. But I think that all in all looks really, really well. Let's go ahead and close this because I don't think we need them anymore. And put this away. Let me bring this up close so you can see how that looks. So we close all these areas where we colored the 700, and that's the areas where, you know, I think there would be some shadow. So let's go with their hair, and I'm going to start with Joseph's hair. And his hair I colored initially with the 100, the skin tone 100, and I'm moving all my stuff, guys. I have a, same as always, I have a mess around. Skin tone 100, the 300, and the 500. So when I initially got the skin tones, guys, they come in pairs, just like all Stampin' Up! Blends come in pairs, and logically you will have the skin tone like the 100, 200, the 400, 300, and the 600, 500. And what playing with them, what I found out is that the ones that are odd numbers, so the 100, the 300, and the 500 are more or less on the same tone color, and the other ones, so the 200, the 400, and the 600 are in another tone color. So these are more on the yellow tones, the others are more on the reddish brown tones. So same as we always do, guys, I always try all the nibs or all the brushes. And yes, the 100 is pretty dark. But here's one of those good examples where you can tell very clearly, especially up close, that this nib is quite darker than this one. And so again, you'll be able to utilize several tones to help you color. And I'm doing the same. This is 300. And I always keep them in order. So on one side the nibs and on the other side the brushes. Oops, that one is hard to open. There you go. So this is the 300. And now we have the 500. So going back, nib here. And as you can tell, these, oh goodness, it's rough. This 500 is pretty dark. Okay, so this is what I am seeing. I'm bringing this, same, always do this, nib, brush, right? And then we can put here 100, 300, and 500. Now, if I bring this up to you and you let me know if you agree with me, I think I'm not going to use this because that's pretty dark. We can create something easier. I think I'm going to use this just straight like that and not make the most out of that extra darker brown. So we're going to start these using the skin tone 100, and like I said, I'm just going to leave them open instead of closing because definitely that is getting us in trouble. So we're going to follow the same concept. Light is coming from the left. We are going to assume that here between this area, you know, underneath his ear is going to be fairly shadowy, right? And that's the right word. Just remember that when we are blending, when we're creating that blend from darker to lighter, what we're really looking is at the shadow at where the light is hitting, and so there are areas that are going to be darker because of the shadow, and others that are much lighter because of the light and how it's hitting. And so we're going to kind of keep that same idea. So I'm going to put a little bit of dark. So the 200 up here, I'm sorry, the 100, this is 100, and maybe a little bit down here, down below this area, just like that. And then we are going to follow again the artist's suggestion, and we're going to darken this a little bit, and I'm extending these a tiny bit that way. And then kind of like here, the artist is telling us that there are some areas that are darker than others. So let's, I think that that also counts as darker. And under, not under, but like right this area where his hair like is barely visible, that would be another area that would be darker, or where the shadow will, or the light will not hit, and so we'll have a shadow. And I'm being very, very mindful here on how to make this, because it's just a really, really small area. Okay, let me bring this up so you can see what I am doing. There you go. And now I'm going to bring the 300 tone, and we are going to go, yes, on top and beyond. So for example, in this area below his ear, right here, I'm going to go almost all the way down, because that's going to be really dark no matter what. So we'll have a little bit of light there, but just minimal. And we're going to go from his beard area, kind of like the same. I'm just making sure you're seeing, sorry, on top and beyond, right? So on top and beyond, all that area. And then up here, on top and beyond. And then I'm just going to go really slow to kind of pass a line or draw a line between his ear, so that area, so this his ear, and the face. There's that, you know, kind of piece of a part of hair, and so I'm coloring that as well. Now we're going to bring this up into his hair, and we're going to do on top and beyond, just like we've been doing, and on top and beyond on this area. And I'm leaving some areas, I don't know if you can tell, that are going to be that we're going to bring, that have a, I guess I'm leaving some areas with just some lines, because we are going to have the 500 come and help us in there. And now going back in here, we're going to do on top and beyond, just like that, just a little bit. So let me pull this up close. This is probably going to be a little bit different than the one we did. That obviously will happen every time, but you can tell how little area I left here. There is some area around here where we'll bring the 500, and this is the top area or the lighter area that we left for the 500. Okay, so bringing the 500, and I'm going to start finishing this area around here. And yes, you do the on top and beyond, and this is going to be very important, because the 300 and the 500, and yeah, and the 500 are two, there's like a lot of difference between of them tone wise. So when you bring, that's the 300, when you bring your 500, you're going to get a little bit of, you know, it's the other one's really dark. So we kind of have to work this combination a little bit. Now I am with the 500, I'm going to bring up. So following what we did before on top and beyond, and same in here on top and beyond. Okay. Now I am seeing something I don't like, so I'm bringing the 300, and I'm just gonna like finish it here, like kind of just put a line in there. I don't know, it kind of looked undefined. And now I am bringing again, this is the 500, and I'm just making sure you're seeing. If you see me stop it, I'm just trying to make sure that you're actually seeing what I'm doing. Because I don't want to have to video this another time, a third time. Okay, so let's go on top and beyond. And this whole area, I am going to go on top and beyond, and this is going to be a little bit of a harder blend, but we are going to do a little bit of that on top and beyond. And later on, we'll use the pencils to kind of help us define that a little better. Now we have the other side of his hair, and we're coming with on top and beyond. And I think that is looking really, really nice. Okay, there we go. Let me bring this up close. So if you can see those lines I created, they are kind of like looking more just like strands of hair, and that is the goal. Let me bring, this is the 500. I'm just going to go over it a little bit more, so it helps with really blending. But that's how you do this, and it's kind of like taking a risk. Not every time it's going to look perfect, but it does work. Let me bring it up here. Look how beautiful that looks. And now we're going to go with Mary. And for Mary's hair, we use the reddish tone. So we use the 600, 400, and 200. And we're going to come here and do the same thing we've done in the past. I'm opening on this side so it doesn't spray all over, but here is the brush of 200. And here is the nib of the 200. And as you can tell, this is a little darker. And then we have the 400. This is the nib. And that's the brush. And finally, the 600. And again, there's quite a difference jump between the previous one and this one. So we have to work this, like really work it out. Okay, and that is the nib. And so we put the same thing, brush, nib, 200, 400, and 600. And we're going to play it with it in here. So we know what we are getting ourselves into when we are going to be coloring, right? So always on top and beyond. See how beautiful this blends. That is a really, really natural blend. And then we're bringing the 600 and we'll go on top and beyond. We always do the on top and beyond. And now that it is working its own magic, the alcohol magic, that looks really beautiful, right? So that's the one we're going to be using. I'm going to say this. If you have the copper clay, still, some people don't have them, so that's why I'm not using it. Copper clay is even a little reddish, right? A little bit more reddish. And so this is a good combo for hair. And I'm not using it just because some people don't have it, and most people have access to the skin tones now. So just putting it out there, guys, that is an option to use. So let's move that out of the way, bring the skin tone 200, moving out there, and I am going to do her hair. Now, I am pretty sure you've probably seen already that my blends have a really different tip than Stampin' Up's regular blends, and there is a reason for that. You're totally right. They have a different tip. I'm trying to see which one may not have it. But I think all of them have it at this point in time. Maybe I've done that. Oh, maybe this one. This is, let's see, Tahitian Tide. I don't think that one has it. Oh, it does. That's, well, I do change the brushes from my blends, guys. Our brushes, I love Stampin' blends, but our brushes are not the best. And so I have decided a long time ago, because I like coloring so much, that using the other brushes will work, and the Ohuhu brand works very well. These are the Ohuhu brushes. It brings 8 of them. It includes, even brings a like a little tweezer. So it brings 8 of them. In the older Stampin' blends, it fits better, easier, but I mean, I've been able to change them even in the new ones. I just got some blackberry blues and they changed. I mean, one of them was a little harder, the other one kind of got in really quickly. Okay, back to our coloring, guys. So we're going to do 2 things. Always follow the inspiration or the guidelines that the artist is giving us. So on Mary, obviously her chin is on top of this part of the hair, right? So that area of the hair is gotta be a little darker, and I'm bringing with a lot of care our 200 all the way along her chin and along her neck. Okay, and now as you guys can tell, this is telling us, yeah, this is telling us, and I'm going to bring it up here. This is telling us that, let me bring this one because this area is telling us that this is a little darker, right? Because most likely the light is going to be hitting here, then this, because of the curve of the hair, is a little darker. So we're going to bring the 200 and put it in there, right? Just a little line, kind of like that. And because there's a lining here, I'm just going to like follow that line up too. Okay? So let me bring it up here so you guys can see. Now, we're going to follow the inspiration of, or the guidelines from the artist. So they are telling us that there is some darker area there, right? And I am just coloring on top of that and coloring there where there's some darker areas, I am assuming, something like that. And kind of, again, following that line, and then just right there and right there. On the bottom, you kind of see the same thing that we saw on this side, and so I'm just going to come up here. So if I see this correctly, I think that the darker side is under, like right there, following that line, and kind of like that. And I would say that her curl or her hair down below is going to be also darker, just kind of like that. So I'm just going to follow the line along her shoulder, and we're going to leave it there. It's a whole lot easier to darken it later than to work it all right now. I am bringing our 400 skin tone, and we're going to do as much as you guess on top and beyond, right? So that area goes a little wider now here on top and beyond, and on top and beyond. Okay, let me show this. So I went on this area where, like right next to her chin, be right below the dark line, and right to the left, or so to the left of this line that you're not seeing. Sorry. So here's her chin. So all I did was on top and beyond, or along her chin, to the left of the mark we made here, and then to the right. This was to the right of the mark we made here, and this one is to the left of the mark we had done there. And now we're going to go up here to go on top and beyond. So the right side of her hair, I think, would be a little darker because of how her head is looking. So that I'm just leaving a tiny bit, but most of it's going to be pretty dark. And now we're going to come here. I'm just making sure you're seeing, and extend there. So on top and beyond, kind of like that. On top and beyond, down here, right? Following the same lines we created before. We're going to do, so I'm just going to kind of like follow the idea of the curl. So it comes like this, it comes like that. And then I'm going to come here and do the same thing. And that's going to help us later to kind of like really promote those two areas as part of the movement of her hair. And now this area here, this is the 400, guys. So I'm going to darken this area so that those, how you call it, those curve areas, I'm darkening those. So along the edge, and we're going to do the same thing here on top and beyond. So we're going to make that area a little darker, and then we'll follow here towards the edge like that. And I'm coming back on the right edge of this curl here and going with my 400. Okay, and now I'm bringing my 400 here, and we'll do on top and beyond, right? And on top and beyond, and I'm just going to keep going around here. So that is her shoulder, so I'm just going to go that way. Okay, and now we're bringing number 600, and we're going to finish this. And we're going to go, so remember right here we have some areas that had been wider, or that are still wide, because we figured that there would be some light in there. And we're going to come down here to underneath her chin, and we're going to go on top and beyond, and then we're going to go, so yep, I'm going to put it right here so you can see better. This is the lower area. We're going to go on top and beyond, and finally down here on top and beyond, and that's going to help us create that feel of the movement of the hair. And now we're going to do the same here on top and beyond, making sure you're seeing what I'm doing. I'm coloring, you know, right there, all the areas that we've already colored on top and beyond, right? And so these will help to kind of create her hair, kind of give that feel of wavy hair. And I am doing that area, going round down here, and I'm going to finish this area. So again, on top and beyond, then here on top and beyond, just like we've done before. Okay, there we go. I think this is looking very, very beautiful. Let me bring it up. We are going to work on it probably a little bit more later. I still have my 400 open, and I just want to like kind of darken a little bit this. So I'm bringing, yeah, I'm bringing it, just kind of create some of those movements. And now I'm bringing the 600, and I'm just going to go really softly on top of it and creating, just helping with a lighter color so it blends softly. And I think that looks better. So let me bring this up close so you can see how this is looking. There we go. Doesn't that look gorgeous, guys? It looks so pretty. And wait till we work with the pencil. So I'm moving all the browns out of here for now anyway, so we can focus on the robes. So we're going to start with Joseph. We've been starting with Joseph for whatever reason. The inside of the robe, so you can tell he has like the robe, like the top, and then just like the inside. So that I did with crumb cake and light cloud cover. Oh, this is soft succulent, because that is the one I'm looking for. But the cloud cover, this is the light one. And what we're doing is something that is called underpainting. So here is our cloud cover. Our cloud cover is going to work as to help us create a shadowy color for our blend, for our crumb cake. And I'm bringing my crumb cake here, and I just want to show you how that looks. So it gives just a smidge of a darker area, and it really looks like shade. And our light crumb cake, and I don't know if it's my crumb cake, if it's just something that happened with my blends or something, but they are really different one from the other, so we really are going to have to work on that blending. So we're going to start with our cloud cover, and we're going to follow the same concepts, right? And that is, we are going to see the areas where there are shadows that will be dark. So right this area where his color is coming will be darker. Underneath his chin, that area will be darker. And so what I am doing, I tend to do a lot of what I call like kind of like this, so kind of like corners, or, and you'll see it me, or a lot of like, yeah, here's the corner, but what I do is kind of like go like this, so it forms like kind of like a triangle-ish. So I don't know if that makes sense, but again, just always ask and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so let me see. We did that. What other areas do I think there should be a clear shadow? So this area, and let me point something out. So this little triangle, this little corner is actually the corner of the bigger rope. So that's not the one we're going to darken, but right next to it, so along Mary's arm, all that area should be a little darker. And this corner where her arm and baby Jesus's head kind of max, all meet together, that is another area that I will darken. That I think that there is a shadow. And lastly, around here, so to me this shows a shadow. Okay, so we have a couple of areas here where I think we have shadows. So back up here around where his neck, right at the top of his neck, where the beard is covering, and underneath Mary's, and underneath Mary's knee, that would be. And with the, we're going to bring now the crumb cake, dark crumb cake, and we are going to go, oh yes, on top and beyond. So on top and beyond. And you will see here how good this helps create that darker area. And I'm just, yeah, making sure you're seeing there is, I'm going to say, I'm going to respect those lines in there, and same in here. I'm going to make this a little darker with my dark crumb cake. And now here we go again on top and beyond, and we're just going to follow that line that we created underneath Mary's arm and baby Jesus's head. And I'm going to extend that following that line, and this is going to go all the way to Mary's knee, and then here we go all the way up instead, just like that. Okay, so those are the shadows that we just created, the darker areas and so forth. I'm just darkening this a little bit more. Again, where I feel that there needs to be a darker area, but always keep in mind that it is coloring, it's like cutting. If you apply too much all of a sudden, then you can't correct it. But if you go slowly, then you will be able to correct either later once all is done and you're like, oh, I think this needs different color, or with pencils. Okay, so now we bring our crumb cake. And I show you here how light our crumb cake is. So we have to really work these blending together. So I'm going to bring my crumb cake on top and beyond. right? And same here on top and beyond. And as you guys can tell, I'm just giving it a couple passes so it helps with the blending. Now, actually, let me get back with my dark one. I'm going to create some darker here because I think where the baby Jesus is, it's going to create like a shadow area. Okay, back to our light crumb cake. So I'm going to bring my light in here, but I am just going to give it a couple passes, and same here with, so we just added that darker crumb cake, but I'm going to add a few extras in there. And then along the left side of his robe, I'm just giving it another pass, and I'm leaving that white for now. Now let's go down to the lower area, and we're going to do yes on top and beyond, on top and beyond. And I'm moving these so you can see better. And so here goes on top and beyond. Okay. Yes, we have to be careful and mindful that there will be some bleeding sometimes. So just do it softly. And I'm coming back up here. You can tell I left that area completely white. And I'm going to come back and put a little bit extra of the crumb cake in the areas I want to darken a tiny bit extra. Okay, and now I'm going to go on top and beyond and cover the white. So always on top and beyond, on top and beyond. And that way, that is how we create the whiter areas when you don't have lighter colors. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Actually, we're going to darken a little bit more this area. So I'm just giving another pass with my crumb cake, my light crumb cake. And now I'm going to just give bigger strokes. Like I said, guys, let me bring this up here. If you let it be for 1 minute, let the color settle, you will be able to see later on how much easier it is to either add color or even using the same, the blends a little bit to correct your coloring than right now, because there's no settling and you don't know how that is how that is going to look. Okay, I'm drinking some coffee, guys. Now for Joseph's robe, the outside robe, we use the Misty Moonlight colors. Let me look for them because I am grabbing the wrong ones. And I want to say light boho blue. So let me bring another piece of paper so we can chat about coloring here. Okay, so I'm going to put that one out there. I'm bringing this one new here. So this is Misty Moonlight Dark. We do the same thing we've done. We use the nib. We try the brush, and there's the Misty Moonlight light, and the other one, the nib. And I have been using, this is the dark one, guys, sorry. I've been using the light boho blue. And part of the reason is because the dark boho blue, it's too dark, I believe. Let's try it together. So this is the dark boho blue, and I'm just going to put it in here. See, it's like another tone completely. This one is more a good, kind of like a natural decreasing of color. So that's why I didn't use the boho blue. Now, I was tempted when I was thinking about this of using light secrecy. That is a really dark color, but we can try to use it to help us with the darker colors, and I just want to try this. So I will make an update in our supply list and everywhere so you can add it. But look how beautiful that looks. That is a gorgeous blending combination. And let's try it in here, right? Okay, so there is the the light Secret C. Now we're bringing Boho Blue, Misty Moonlight, I meant to say. Guys, I'm for real sometimes. Now the Misty Moonlight. And finally, the light Boho Blue. So with that, guys, we just created a gorgeous, gorgeous blending combination. And that leads me to bring something to show you. I don't know if these are the right ones. I think that I ended up making a few changes later on, but I have created this, and this is a memory card. So let me show you guys what I actually do in here. So this is my memory card. And I think it just looks so beautiful, guys. It's just really nice. So it says branch, so I'm telling myself what I color with this and what colors I used, and that way I know what how I achieved a coloring, right? A type of coloring. This one is another one. This one has the 100 dark, mossy meadow, and old olive, and so forth. Like I have a ton of colors in here that I play with, and what I got. Some of them I even put like a picture of what I achieved with it. And so I will be adding these to our library so you can tell. So what I would do in this case, I will bring a pencil or a pen and write, Rove, and I can put Joseph in here, right? And then I can start the color combination. This is without underpaint. This is not going to be an underpainting. This is very dark, so I'm going to start it in here. Remember, underpainting is what we did with the cloud cover and the crumb cake. And I just, and now I'm bringing the Misty Moonlight. This is light, so dark Misty Moonlight on top of it and beyond, right? And this really gives you a good idea of how your blends are working. And then the light Misty Moonlight. Okay. And finally the Boho Blue. And that way, again, you have a really good memory card. And then you know what's working. I know that sometimes really our memory works very well, and that is true, but it's worth it to have that memory set. So I am thinking, guys. So in this one, let me bring this back up in here. I had used the cloud cover for her, but for her, her robe. But now I am thinking, do I want to use the blue one for her robe? And the only reason is because of these little drop in here. So I don't know. And then do his in another color. Let's stick with it and we'll figure out how to solve that. I don't even know how. So I'm bringing here's the Secret C. So this is going to be a little bit different than the coloring we did from the first one, because we didn't use the Secret C for this. And what I am going to start with is, where would the shadows be? So I'm bringing my pen back and this up here, and so this area is going to be shadowy. This area where the creases of the robe are, this area which is the inside of his robe, right, should be like, this is telling us that this is the inside of his robe, probably this area. So there's a few areas we're going to work together, and we're going to start using the Secret C as a guide. Yes, we're going to use the guide of the artist as well. So I think that where her hair and his robe meets, that is a darker area or a place where there would be a shadow. Now I will make it here, something like that, and a tiny bit there, and it's a tiny bit, very little. I'm going to add here where his beard meets the robe, so it's just a tiny bit, and I'll bring it up here in a minute so you can see it. I'm going to bring with the dark sea, I'm going to kind of color there, extend these a tiny bit up, but not a whole lot. And then we're going to go to the backing here. So I would say that this corner, which I am coloring right now, yes, you're seeing well, is going to be darker. And then right below here, like underneath and up top. And we need to work all these creases in here. So I'm going to start thinking that this is a crease and this is going to be darker. So that's going to go like that. And then right next to the staff or the walking stick, I guess, their area, I'm going to make a tiny nudge like that. And I'm going to follow here. So remember we said this area is going to be pretty dark because it's the inside of the row. So I'm going to make that, and right here, like close to his hand, that should be darker. And I'm doing this with a lot of care. There's areas that I'm just like literally just dotting, guys. Same as here, just dotting, okay? And now we're gonna work these creases together. So I will start again following the lines from the inspiration from the artist. And then I'm gonna put just one here and then following that up as well. And we're gonna make this one here. So I'm going to follow all the way to the staff. And up here, guys, I am seeing this. And we'll kind of extend that there together in a little bit. There you go. So those are the areas that we're going to use the secret seam. Let me bring it up close so you can see. Okay, so right in this area, this is how the crevices look. Just pay attention that I didn't go all the way up. Same here, not all the way up. But this is areas where I think it will be much darker. So now we're bringing our Misty Moonlight dark, and we're going to extend on those darker areas. So here, I can tell I'm going to start, on Top and Beyond, nothing that we've not done before, extending that. And then with that, I'm going to like just go on her, like on the higher area of Mary's face. Oh, we forgot an area. See, I'm bringing back my secret C. This area should be pretty dark too. And that is just a triangle I mentioned earlier. Now back up here, we are going to do On Top and Beyond, right? Softly, guys, softly, with patience. There we go. And then remember that we had make like this little nook in here, so we're going to do On Top and Beyond from there. So now it like goes around Joseph's beard. And we're going to come here at that little nook or that little corner we just colored, and we're going to do On Top and Beyond. And I'm leaving just a tiny spot there so we can see that definitely there is there's going to be light on that area. So I'm bringing my dark Misty Moonlight and I'm extending that line a little bit and extending up here just like that. So see what I was telling you about that, like So what I tend to do is something along those lines. Kind of like go in crescendo. So that's what I'm doing in there. Now, I'm going to bring, so I think there's going to be a lot of light in here, but as it goes back, the light will be less, and so I'm guessing that it's going to be, we're going to have, darker areas. These, we said it was like a crease, and so that was going to be darker. This area is going to be darker, and there you go. This area too. And now here, I'm going to go back on top and beyond and extending. So we're going to finish this that way, but there, that corner right there is going to be darker. Now let's go back to the top. We're going to finish inside his robe, or the arm of his robe, and I'm just going to go just like that. I left like a tiny sliver that we'll use our Misty Moonlight on. I'm just going on top and beyond all the areas I've been looking at and mentioning, just like that. Now on top, just making sure you're seeing, sorry, on top and beyond. I do get really excited when I'm coloring and I don't pay attention. So there you go. There you go. So all we did was on top and beyond in some extra areas. I'm bringing here for you to see clearly. This one was very easy. This one is easy too. I think here's where I did that kind of in crescendo form, and you can see how that is working. Now bringing the light, Misty Moonlight, and we're going to start going on the easy areas. And I see the easy areas because, this one is just finishing it up, right? So I am just going to go on top and beyond good enough that it looks like it's blended. And we're going to do the same here on top and beyond. But I'm leaving some wider areas there. And then on top and beyond. And like I'm saying, like I'm leaving some wider areas there. I'm saying here on top and beyond. Okay. So that's the area that we're going to put lastly our boho blue. Then we're going to bring back in here. I'm going on top and beyond that line, and then I'm just creating that just right there, right on top. And I'm adding some extra of that light, Misty Moonlight, and then going, yes, on top and beyond of what we put earlier, which was the the dark Misty Moonlight. And then I'm going to bring on top and beyond on that big corner. And I am using enough so that it all blends well. And same in here, guys. So this area that I'm leaving white is where we'll put a lot of that boho blue. And let's go back up the top. And so remember that I had left like just a tiny bit in here. We're going to color that on top and beyond. Softly, guys, softly. If you need to do dotting, so sometimes you do a line, but if you do dots, see how much smaller it is? And it just like, it helps a whole lot to control that. I'm bringing the light, Misty Moonlight in here. And that's just so we have a difference between the robe, the inside of the robe that is dark and the outside. And we're going to bring again the light, Misty Moonlight all around here. On top and beyond, guys. Now I am closing this with the light Misty Moonlight, just like that. And then we'll bring it all around where we had, some of that. And just the same, just what we've done before. Now in this case, we are going to bring our Misty Moonlight, and I'm just putting this like this so you can see what I'm doing. And I am going to, okay, go from here, from that corner, and I'm gonna just like start a little line like that. I'm kind of dotting in here, guys. And again, this is the light misty moonlight. And you know, the area like right next to that crease, and then yeah, and then down below just a little bit, right there. So we have kind of like a clear contour of where the cloth is going. Now I'm bringing my dark misty moonlight because I forgot, I think here, like underneath baby Jesus, there should be a darker area, right? It feels correct. And so we're going to bring the light misty moonlight and just on top and beyond and expand just like that. Okay. And now we're going to be working, I think I'm going to leave this one in here, and we're going to be working with the boho blue. And the boho blue, it's definitely a much lighter color, and it's a bluer color. And you'll see the difference here in a minute. I mean, how much bluer it is. So I am starting with the left side of Joseph's robe. And we're doing the regular on top and beyond. Nothing changes really in this case. Okay, there you go. So doesn't that look so good, guys? So good. We're gonna come up here, but there you see like Secret Sea and Misty Moonlight, I feel that are more on the grayish part of blues. And I'm gonna bring the Misty Moonlight here a minute just to kind of blend that a little better. While boho blue is a little bit more on the lighter, brighter blue, but it's the best combo that we can do for these darker blues. And now bringing my boho blue and go on top and beyond that area that we just kind of created like a crease in there, and very softly go around baby Jesus. And I'm saying softly because in the end baby Jesus, it's brown, but we don't want a lot of that blue to bleed on, and so we're just being careful that it doesn't bleed on baby Jesus. And so the first thing I'm doing is going on top and beyond, but I am not working all the bigger areas. See, so we'll go here on top and beyond, and then we're connecting these two areas on top and beyond, right? And then back in here on top and beyond. That just helps create like a nice blend. And then this one here is just really the boho blue. Okay, I'm not too concerned about this staff because the staff is going to be dark, right? Dark, I guess dark wood. And now we're going to go and finish this area. So I'm bringing the boho blue on top and beyond, no matter if there is no even if there's no like wider area. And that is because, like I was saying, the boho blue color it's definitely a bluer color, and so we really need to be able to see to kind of unify that color in. And we're going to go here on top and beyond just like we did before, and focusing on blending that well. If you guys see, and I'll show you here in a minute, I'm bringing, this is dark misty moonlight, and I'm just going to go like that a little bit. The Secret Sea, it's pretty dark, and it like, I don't know if the right word is staining, but it just really like sticks to the paper and it blends a little less. So we have to work a little bit with the other markers to create that blend. And that's what I'm doing here. This is the dark, that's the light Misty Moonlight, and I'm going on top with the boho blue. And I'm going to stop there because I don't want it to bleed. So now I'm going to focus on this area that we just worked. So on top and beyond always, right? And we're going to come, and I'm going to move this a tiny bit like that, guys, so you can see, and hopefully, yes, you can see better. So, okay, so this is boho blue on top of Misty Moonlight. But like we said, Misty Moonlight's still quite dark, and so we are helping that blend going on top of it several times. Just do it carefully because we don't want any bleeding. Now this area in here should be pretty white or pretty light. It should have a lot of light, okay? So I'm just leaving that like that. I'm just giving it a couple passes. See how I'm creating the light. I'm just not passing there anymore. That's going to be light in my world. And this area on top, there should be a lot of light. So I'm going to go like that. Actually, let's turn around. Okay, guys, sorry about the moving around, but this will make it easier. So on top and beyond, right? So if I come from here and go like that, then you'll see that whiter area at the top of Joseph's on his shoulder. And that's just how we create this without any pencils, and it looks very, very good even without pencils. Let me bring this back up here so you can see how good that looks. We left a couple of lighter areas. We have well-defined creases, right? We can understand now that this is where his arm is creasing, and this is where he's kneeling, and the robe is here, and all that we created together with just the alcohol markers. So I think that looks pretty amazing, guys. So let's go back. I'm going to remove all these colors, and we are going to bring our other friends, which are the cloud cover, and that will be for Mary's robe. Sorry, guys, I kind of got stuck in there for a minute. And we are going to do another underpainting. So I'm going to bring dark gray granite. So let me look for it real quick. Dark, it says dark gray granite. So I have my dark gray granite here, and there it is. And we are going to bring the dark and the light cloud cover. So this is our dark cloud cover, and we're going to go on top and beyond, and you'll see very well in here how these actually works as an underpainting. I do want to see if by any chance I have a lighter color or a darker color within my pencils, right? I mean within my blends. Goodness, I don't think there is, but I'm just going to see it. I'm just going to try it. And that's how oh, actually, look at that. That one is giving me a darker color. Let me bring it up so you can see. See? This one is a little darker than this. So we can play with this. So if you ask me, I will go kind of like this route. So, right? So, nib, brush, brush. And then we have and we said that was dark gray granite for the underpainting. So if I want to do that, yeah, here's another one, and I can just put Mary's robe, right? And I will not be using pencil, but that's fine. So we write Mary's robe, and then we have underpainting here, so we'll write, right, we'll put dark gray granite, like that. And I will include, like today, I'm using the nib in here. So let's do that, for example. Right? Look how beautiful that looks. And then I'm bringing the brush, and finally the brush of the light. Okay, so I just want to show you how cool this looks. I'm going to leave this in here because that's for me, but I'm going to bring this up here so you can see how well that gray puts this like an underpaint, how well that is working. And I'm sorry about my nails, guys. I was digging up potatoes today, so I'm very excited about that. But do you see how cool that looks, guys? So we're definitely going to use our dark gray granite, and it's the same concept, right? Light is coming from here, so we know more or less where we are going to have some darker areas. So to me, for example, where her arm and baby Jesus meet, that's a darker area. I would say here where her hair is landing, that would be a darker area. Up here, like up next to her neck and or her throat, where her hair is landing. Now logically down beneath baby Jesus, right? And then I would say her hand is here. I would say that is a darker area. And I know it's always the crevices, the creases that kind of like creates a little bit of an anxiety. So we are with the underpaint. That means not, the other colors. I'm bringing up some here. I see these as dark. So I'm going to put, a little bit of there. And then I see these area as dark. So right behind that line in there, right here, there's a crease as well. So I'm just going to go like that and extend a little bit to the edge of the sleeve. Now, for example, up here, I see an area that should be dark because that's where she's sitting, right? I see this area should be dark. I think this corner should get like, not the corner, but just a little bit there. So I see this like the mountain, and so underneath that line, I see an area that should be darker. And the same here, so this will be like in this line, I'm going to put it a little bit in there. And we're going to go back in here. So I see this as a crease that will be darker, and then right underneath here I see dark. These will be on top, and so this one I think should go a little darker below or behind it. This area is definitely going to be darkened, and same this area. Okay, and I would think that just below her robe, like her arm area, that should be dark. Okay, so let me bring it up here so you can see what we did. We did gray in here underneath baby Jesus, here where her hair meets the robe, where her hair, kind of meets that between the neck and the hair, underneath her hair, this area, because this is where there's a fold in here, this area where baby Jesus is meeting, all these creases, there's another crease in there, here's underneath her hand, and all these other areas, right? You can stop the video if you want just to check it out and just make sure that you're getting which areas we're going to color on top. Now, I have our cloud cover here. We decided that the nib was a little darker, so we're going to do a little bit of the nib first, and I'm going to do on top and beyond choker, and again on top and beyond right there. And we're going to go back up top here, and so on top and beyond, this is going to be a darker area no matter what, because there's very little space in there for the light to come in. We're going to do here on top and beyond all the way through her hair, and then on the other side on top and beyond. So right there, but then I'm going to bring this up here, right, down here, so where baby Jesus and her arm meets, and I'm just going to expand that a little bit, kind of like that. And now we're going to go where those areas where we put extra gray. So that area will be on top and beyond. That area, all those areas where we put the gray. Underneath her hand, to go on top and beyond. I'm going to expand this a tiny bit there, and then underneath the sleeving there, and I'm just dotting, guys, pretty much same here, just dotting on top, and there goes tiny bit more. That goes like that, and we're going to go and do this on top and beyond. These are going to meet there, on top and beyond, down. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, you're seeing what I'm doing. So following the line there, we're gonna move in here and in here. So all the areas where we put some gray, that's where we're coloring. This area feels to me like it needs to be darker, so that I am going without any chain. There we go. And now we're gonna bring our other area, our other brush, from still using the dark cloud cover. So we're going to start here on top and beyond and finish it. I'm not going to worry much about it. Same here, on top and beyond, and finish it, right? On top and beyond, and we'll finish some of these. Some of these need still some light, but we're doing on top and beyond. So that right area, that little bit of white area, that is staying white, or not white, but will be lighter on top and beyond here. Now with this one, I'm just going to go follow her hair like that on that corner, and on these kind of area where her hair is curled, we're going to do the same here on top and beyond, and on top and beyond there. I do on top and beyond in here. Now we have here on top and beyond too. And we're going to start expanding here. So on top and beyond, just like that. We're leaving some areas light because we're going to bring the cloud cover there. And then on top and beyond, right underneath her arm, all the way underneath her arm. Okay, and now I'm going to go straight here. I'm going to leave that just that dark, and we're going to come on top and beyond in here, and this is going to like kind of follow there a little bit, follow here, and I am trying to follow all the way there and hoping that that will help. We'll see how that goes, guys. On top and beyond here too. And I'm just going to turn this a little bit so it's easier. On top and beyond. So I am leaving some areas, as you guys can tell, a lot of white area, so we can work those lighter areas with the cloud cover. I'm bringing the light cloud cover, and we're going to do on top and beyond, just like we've been doing, but we're going to just leave that like that, and that will be all. There's not a whole lot we need to do there extra. Same here, right? On top and beyond, and on top and beyond. There's not a whole lot. There you go. Now we'll do this area right here. And we're just going to start what I call like kind of closing in, right? Which area? So this one is an easy one. We'll just go on top and beyond all the way and be done. And the same will be happening here. Sometimes it's easier to turn your picture. Don't be shy about that. Just turn it in peace. So we're going to go on top and beyond, and like we've done in the past, we'll do a few extra passes for some extra areas, right? So for example, in here, I rather have an extra pass like that, and then come on top and beyond still, because that way, again, we keep one side, the other side darker, but that way we also are able to save some of those lighter areas. And we're gonna finish this one here, because again, that should be pretty quick, pretty simple. It's like an enclosed area, right? That part of her dress. And same with this area, guys, right there. And same with this, we're just going to go on top and beyond, right? So their areas are very simple because of that. Now I'm going to bring here, guys, my brush of the dark clover, and I'm just going to like follow this line. So I'm following this line kind of like that, softly. Okay, so all we're creating is kind of like an extra dimension movement to our to her groove, and we're going to do the same thing here with the pencil, with the pen, with the blender, just like that. Nothing too strong, just softly. And now we're going to bring our light cloud cover, and we are going to go, yes, on top and beyond, right? So here on top and beyond, that one, that it's what I call like a mountain. See it like a mountain. That should be lighter. This goes on top and beyond here, and that should be lighter, so I'm going to leave that lighter for now. This one should be lighter, so I'm going to come from underneath, and I'm just going to leave that like that, and just making sure you're seeing. Okay, something along those lines. I'm still leaving a lot of white in there, so I can work the highlights later. And then I'm going to bring a little bit in here, and I'm going to make one pass in there, kind of see. So yes, you're seeing, so here it is, one whole pass, right? That's what I'm seeing, that there's some movement in that rope, right? And then on top and beyond, and now we're creating different color, right? Or a lighter color. See, that looks really good. And then we'll go back in here, one and one and one. Now we need to work this blend out, so I'm just following that movement, just like that. And now we're going to leave that light, and just like we've done before, on top and beyond, on top and beyond, on top and beyond, on top and beyond, right? But on top and beyond all over. Okay, we did it, guys. Isn't that beautiful? See how easy it is? I'm bringing a little bit of my cloud cover, my darker one, kind of highlighting or darkening some of those corners. We'll do that later too, but I just feel we can put a little bit more of the darker color. Like, for example, here, feels like it should be darker. Okay, something like that. And because there's quite a bit of alcohol in the image, then it will tend to blend itself. Now we're gonna go with baby Jesus skin. Oh, you know what, guys, we didn't even color baby Jesus. What were we thinking? So I'm bringing this skin tone again, the 700, and all these area, it's kind of like where he's covered, so we are going to do our 700 along the right side of baby Jesus, right there. Okay, and now we're going to bring the 900, making sure you're seeing, guys, because like I said, I want to color, I don't want to do this a third time. And we're going on top and beyond like we've done, but remember this is a harder color to blend, and I'm leaving that area light because then now we can come again on top and beyond, on top and beyond, and on top and beyond, and then we just created just like that a lighter area. And baby Jesus's blanket is just the pecan pie combo. I just thought that we could have done this a little better, I guess. So you can always use underpainting. So let's see, if you use, this is light blackberry bliss, and I bring, this is the dark pecan pie. That's not noticeable, so let's bring another one. Maybe, you know, I'm thinking that the dark clover may be a good one. There's dark cloud cover, and this is yeah, you kind of sort of see it, but not super well. Which leads me to think that something a tiny bit darker. I'm wondering if light boho blue will be more noticeable. Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's see if we have some luck. So the problem here, let me show you up close, is that because the pecan pies have some yellow on it, when you put the boho blue, that it's so blue, I don't know if you can see the hint of like green in there. This is where cloud cover is so good because it's more of a grayish color, which leads me to, well, maybe we just use the same one we were using before for the other one. I don't see anything there, so that's not enough. So I think I'm going to stick with the cloud cover to create a difference. This is the Blackberry Bliss. This is a dark one, and that tends to work very well. Let me just put it like that so you guys can see. Sometimes you are still able, so well, you're still able to see very clear the, like the Blackberry Bliss in here. You don't see it much in here. So I think it's a matter of, I really think that the cloud cover does the best justice to it. This one just gives a really greenish perception there. So I'm going to bring again, this is dark cloud cover, and we're going to work on baby Jesus, which is not very difficult. Just follow the how you call this, just follow the creases on it, right? So I think that like light will be hitting in here, so we'll be putting a little bit of the cloud cover on the top, like thinking behind the line. So we're creating like the behind that line is going to be darker, and then I will do in this area just softly, guys, a little bit in here. This area, of course, shows that it's darker in there because all is bundled, and so we really want to make sure that we manage to get clear that that's bundle, and all this area too. Okay, and I will bring right here where her hand is connecting with baby Jesus, and I am thinking a little bit there. So this area should be lighter, this should be darker. Okay, let's see if that works, guys. And I am bringing my, this is the dark pecan pie. I didn't put this one correctly, and as you can tell, it's not very fine. So I'm going to start in here with the, where her hand meets baby Jesus, and I'm just being very careful and mindful because in the end the skin tone is very light, right? So we want to make sure that we don't go over that and that, you know, create like a boo-boo, not needed. I'm seeing this area here. We're doing the same thing, guys, on top and beyond. We did something here, so that's on top and beyond, and this one there. And then we did a little bit in here, guys. And we're going to go back in here. So I see a little bit here, but I want these to be clear that that is like the underneath of the crease, or the underneath part of the crease. And he's littler, right, logically. And so we have a little bit more of you know, to think a little bit more on where we're putting this. Okay. And now I'm bringing the light pecan pie. I just want to see because I didn't try, but it feels like, yeah, it feels like this one is a little darker. So we'll try the other one and see if that works. So we're going to do the same thing on top and beyond. I know it's pretty boring, right? Because I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But that is what helps. Okay, and on top and beyond. And I'm saying it because really, if you're not paying attention, you will not like go on top. That's been my experience. If you're not thinking about it, you will not go on top. And you need to go on top to be able to create a darker edge or a darker blend. And so on top and beyond. And same here, guys. Now we're going to bring this in here on top and beyond. And like I said, there's not a whole lot in here because in the end, it's a very small image. I'm coming on top and beyond. If you notice, I am kind of going over a couple of areas, going twice, so we darken it a little bit. And there's areas where I am not going twice, right? I'm just going straight forward and make that white, just like we've done in the past. So just like that, again, we just created a really good highlights, guys, without any pencils or any extra help. I'm going to bring the 100 and the 300, and we're just going to color that stuff real quick. I'm going to use these, the nib. The nib seems to be, seems to give like a, I have the right wording, like a thinner line. And so I'm just going to go, I'm just darkening one area of the line, and now I'm bringing the 300. So let me show you up close. There it is. It's just on the right side of the staff, and I didn't color all the way up. And I'm bringing the 300, and we're going to just color on top. And yes, beyond. Isn't that funny? These are two very dark colors. You really barely can see any of it, but just cause, right? Okay. And then we are done. So this would be the coloring without blends. And quite frankly, guys, I think it looks so beautiful. Let me put it up there. That looks so gorgeous, and it has no pencils, no nothing on them. But the pencils have a couple of things, and it helps for a couple of ways, and that is, it really helps define some of the highlights and some of the shadow areas, and we can do what's called overpainting, and you can have a whole lot of fun. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is Calypso Coral, and we're just going to do some of the highlighting of the skin areas. Yes, Calypso Coral is a pretty dark color. So let me bring, this is the one that had the, and so if I go on top of this softly, it does create a darker area. You see that? But when I say softly, guys, this is what I am doing. It's barely noticeable. You see how light that is? So that is what we're doing. We are going to go in here and very lightly kind of like bring the Calypso Coral a little bit so we can just define this a tiny bit more, but not a whole lot more. Okay, it is very softly, and I'm actually thinking, where's my pencil? I just lost my pencil, guys. That is so not appropriate. I found it. I see that this got a little too reddish in there. That's the problem. Calypso coral is definitely very orangey, and so you have to be careful about how you use it. And so I'm going to bring again very softly, as you're seeing what I'm doing, softly, softly, on those areas where we put this 700. Just a little bit, just a little bit. We're just emphasizing those areas that should be darker. And we're going to do the same thing with Mary, just a little bit, guys. I am barely pushing, barely pushing. You can barely see that. I'm barely pushing. And this does help, though, to, again, create just a little bit of kind of like noticing clearly that there is a highlight there. That is a darker area. I'm sorry, not highlight. So just barely pushing, just a tiny bit. And that way we create, of course, kind of like a darker area. We emphasize those areas, and that is it. I'm bringing just a tiny bit here for baby Jesus, which we just colored. And I'm bringing this for her hand, just a little bit, guys. Just a little bit, just where we put the 700. So that's it. I'm not going to even do anything more in here because I don't want to mess it up. In the end, the skin tones are always hard, so we don't want to make a mess. Now, I am actually using, guys, my own guide because I already thought, so I don't need to, redo the wheel. And for Joseph here, we use the Early Espresso pen and the Peck and Pie pencils. These are the two ones, and we are going to work with them to kind of define some of the areas in here. So I like really well how this is looking, quite frankly. I don't feel the need to do a whole lot more. I'm using this is Early Espresso kind of to define one of the reasons that pencils are so useful is because you can use them to like ease some of that blending. So I'm seeing some of the blending in here. It was kind of rough, and so I'm just going with the Early Espresso. I am easing off those blending areas. But that's it, right? Like not a whole lot. You don't need to do a whole lot. I'm bringing the Peck and Pie a little bit here to kind of add some dimension to this and to his beard. I'm actually bringing the Peck and Pie, the Early Espresso here at the bottom and darkening this a tiny bit more. And again, let me bring it up here. This is what I'm doing, right? It's really, really, really light, guys. It's really light. And that's all we're doing with his hair. We're gonna finish Joseph first. So what we did for the outside of the robe, we used the Night of Navy. So let me bring it. This is Night of Navy. We used white, right? I mentioned before that I no longer have Stampin' Up! White pencils, so I have a Prismacolor white. Stampin' Up! Will do. I just don't have any more, and it does not make sense to buy a whole packet of the pencils just because I need a white. The advantage of Prismacolor, guys, is that they sell them separately, and so if you have a need, then you can just buy it on its own. And I actually added a color that is from Prismacolor too. So, and that is indigo blue. So what happens is that Night of Navy is a very, very blue color. So let me put it in here so you can see how much, like how on the blue side it is. See how blue it is? And this is a really gray blend, right? Now we could do some gray, and I have some gray here that you could use, but it just very, very gray. And so, and it's kind of even in the warm gray. So I did not love that. So I found, and this is from Prismacolor. Again, they sell them separately. This is called Indigo Blue. It's PC901. And look at this color. Although it's still blue, it's a little darker. And so it's going to work well, I think, this combo to create the just the highlights and darkening of some areas. So I'm bringing my Prismacolor, the dark one, and we are going to go over those areas where we added the secrecy. So think of the secrecy. Something I rarely ever mention, but if you ever have doubts, turn around and it will tell you. You can see here the darker areas. You can see here the gray, for example, where we play with that gray and did some underpainting. So yeah, always turn around. You'll be able to see where you have used some other colors, and that's just, you know, a little tip for you. And again, I'm just all that area where I did the, oops, I made a mistake there. There, all the area, I'm just using my Prismacolor, and I'm going all those creases, I'm just softening with the pencil. All those creases in here, same. I'm just softening with the pencil. With this color, I am actually going to create a couple of creases. And all I'm doing is just putting two lines in there. Can you see them? I'll show them here in a minute so you can see. And I am easing off that secrecy that was really stubborn. It works really well, but it was really stubborn. So I'm extending that line, and I am creating a couple here. Let me show you what I'm doing. So I created these two lines, and that way we're creating some extra creases for the roof. That's all we're doing. And we're going to come back down here. Well, I'm going to do that little corner that we, you know, did a while back. I'm just going to close this. This is where the pencils are super useful, because if they have a good tip, right, if you sharpen them, then it will just work really well. And then I'm gonna come here, ease out. So let me bring this up here so you can see. So what I did extended, remember initially we had this line. What I did was extend it little by little. You saw that process up here. So now that we are here, this will be the darker side, like the inside of the crease, and this will be the outside of the crease. So with that in mind, I'm using my darker color, my indigo, to go on the inside of that crease. And that way we're just not highlighting, actually darkening that side, and makes it so much clearer that there is a crease in there. And then we're going to just do a little bit here where baby Jesus head is at, just for fancies, and then right here as well. So this indigo actually is working really well to ease out that secret sea tone, because I didn't use that one in the first time I did it, and I think that it just helps so much to really get those colors going. But it just it's starting to look so beautiful, guys. So beautiful. Okay. There we go. I think that if you leave it like that, I don't think it needs a whole lot. I'm bringing the Night of Navy just to add a little layer over all that color that we just added, and it's just a little bit lighter, and it will help with the with, you know, just it will help a little bit. With this Night of Navy, I'm just making another fake crease in there. Nothing super clear, but just a tiny bit. And then we're using the Night of Navy here to kind of unify some of those colors that we just used. It just gives it a little beautiful extra blue to it, but not a whole lot. And I don't want a whole lot of blue because I like actually the grayish blues. Now, let me show you up close so you can see. Doesn't that look gorgeous now? Now, I have my white here, and what we're going to do, and that's what I was saying earlier, we're going to do the tornado form. The tornado form, what I do is like I kind of start on the edge and kind of, you know, go like this. For whatever reason, that works for me. Tornado form. And we're going to do a lot of that with the highlight, and the highlight will be our white. So for example, I see this area here, and that's what I'm doing. It's a little tornado there, and so we're highlighting now. This area seems to need a little bit of a highlight, and this area too. And that just like really intensifies those highlights. So for example, remember that fake line we created here? I am going to bring my white and go just around, not around, just right next to that darker area. And because of that, I am highlighting that, and that makes it look so much defined that there's a crease in there. And we're going to do the same thing in here, just like that. So wherever we see a crease and you want to like highlight it, use your white. So for example, in here, I'm going to bring my white and extend that. And I am just going from the top to the bottom in the areas. So between these two and between these two, I'm just going like that. And in these two, just doing that the same. I'm going to bring a little bit in here and a little bit in here. So we're just again doing that highlight in at the top of his shoulder where we decided before that there was a little bit more light, and I'm going to bring just like again the tornado form. And we're just doing that tornado form like that, and it just like gives that idea that there's a wider area, and we had already left some area here that's white, and I'm just going on top of that, making it a little wider. That's all, guys. See how easy that is and how beautiful that looks. So let's go ahead with this backing here, and we're going to go now with Mary, and Mary's robe, and again I'm looking at my things, has the basic gray. So let me bring the basic gray. It does not have a good tip. I'm going to use my sharpener, and then we get a really nice and decent one. We're going to use white, and I had already put it away for some reason, and we're going to use, yes, I mean, sorry, but another one, and it is the slate gray 936, and I hope I still have it around here. If not, we'll have to look for it. It may be that I don't have it here. Give me 1 minute. So this is the slate gray PC 936, and if you ask me, this is the Prismacolor version of cloud cover. Look at that. Like if I go on top of it, it's definitely just so perfect. I'm gonna sharpen it a little bit so we have a nice tip. And so we start with the gray. Remember, here we go. If you need to see the grays, go to the back, but just follow your, by now you've colored this a little bit, so I'm just using gray very softly where we had added gray initially. So remember, by here, all that area, just softly, and all we're doing is really giving it that feel of a shaded area, right? So we're just intensifying those shaded areas. And that's why underpainting seems to be so useful, right? And it is because the shade is not a darker color of the same color, is a murky color, a dirty color of the same color. So when you use just your regular blends to create that, you don't get that feel of a, you know, like kind of like that dark grayish color that happens when you have shade. And if you don't believe me, look at anything that has shade. So look at my hands here, right? Like that area looks gray. It doesn't look darker white, right? It just looks grayish, and it's because that's what it is. The in the end, the shadow is the lack of light, right? And so that is what we're trying to intensify here, or to make clear, is that that area is where there is less light. And because you're doing that, you're actually focusing on how and making clear what areas are part of a crease, what areas, you know, are darker, and so forth. And so it just really works very, very well. Okay, so all we did was going all through those areas where we already had put some of that gray. And now I'm bringing the, again, slate gray is the name of it. And I am just going over that beautiful, over where we put the gray. I'm sorry, I got a little stuck in there in my brain. Got really focused on painting all of a sudden, just a little bit, and then we'll be able to kind of work on those highlights. I want to really darken this and those areas that I think that need to be darkened, right? Because again, that way we are defining well where there is no light, and then that helps us. So I'm going to bring with my slate thingy here. I'm just going to like really make that pronounce, and I'm going to do the same here, just pronouncing that so it looks more defined, like a roof, right? Part of the roof. And that's what we're doing, guys. It's just making sure that this looks very defined. And lastly, we're going to bring the white. And so what did we do before? We just highlight the areas that it needs. So for example, to me, this needs highlighting because we're just trying to say, yeah, this is the top of the roof. Or this area here, I'm highlighting because that's what I am seeing as part of where it needs some highlight. In the past, I had done something in here in the other one. I am going to leave that a little bit like that because we had made that mistake. And well, that's where we're at. So I'm just highlighting along the edge of her knees. That would be. So in here, I'm highlighting at the lower area of her roof, and in here I'm highlighting where we just kind of like went through, and I am just going to extend this highlight like that. You see what I'm doing? Like all the way. And now a little stronger, I'm going to go on top of that, like a mountain kind of. I keep saying mountain, I don't know how to call it better, but yeah. And now, for example, I'm going to highlight in here, right? Because there'll be more light in there as well as in here. And then I'm going to bring my pencil back in here, and very pointy, I'm going to like highlight in there. And same here, I'm going to highlight that there's light in there, guys. And same up here. So it's a matter of seeing how the light and then working with it. So for example, I'm seeing here, and so I'm going to slowly push down. So you see, and I'm just softening some of that, blending and stuff like that. Remember, so this area, you can't see. Okay, we had said this area should be darker because baby Jesus is in here. That's where the arm, sorry guys, this is where baby Jesus is, so this area should be darker, right? But we have not darkened it a whole lot. I'm going to bring a tiny bit extra of that gray, slate gray, but the easiest way to do that is bringing the white. And so if I bring white in here and lighten these up, it's going to give that feel, that just a contrast, right? Because of the contrast, we'll be able to add the white here, and that just looks lighter immediately. I'm going to bring a little bit of this in here and against all, or along the edge of her sleeve. And I'm going to bring a little bit in here, just a tiny bit, guys. And I think we're done. Like that looks so beautiful. I'm going to lighten up a little bit in here, a little bit more. a little bit more. And if you can tell, guys, it's not like it looks super light. We're just adding a tiny bit of color, and that's all we're doing for her today. And let's move these out of the way. And what I want to do now is work with her hair. Her hair in the other one really ended up looking beautiful. I was pretty pleased with that. So I'm bringing my pencils, and it says that I need pecan pie, early espresso. I don't even know why I put them away, guys. This is so funny. I can't find my early espresso. Oh, there it is. It's just on the smaller side. As you guys can tell, I use them a lot. And then Cajun Craze. And the reason why I have these on pecan pie is because Cajun Craze and pecan pie, like if you see them from afar, they look very similar. So I had to. I'm going to sharpen that a little bit, and then we're going to start working with these tones. So going back to, remember there was a darker area here, so we're going to like focus on the area. I'm bringing these up here softly, guys, and working with that. And down I'm bringing, so all I'm doing now, remember the darker areas we had colored? That's what I'm doing. I'm focusing on the areas, and that's where I'm using my early espresso to kind of mark it, right? Remember that we had to like, I don't know, 2 semicircles in here. Those areas I'm going to like kind of highlight. And then we had something going on here as well, kind of like that. Okay, that's all I'm going to be doing with, I'm just kind of like this area where her face meets, that area needs to be darker logically. So I'm just, you know, putting some extra of the early espresso in there. And I'm going to bring it kind of close as well. Oh, that looked awful. And that's one of the reasons why you can use pencils, because if you use them softly, you'll be able to erase it. So that's what happens sometimes when you're paying less attention, right? Okay. So you saw me, I just went very softly with my early espresso around the darker areas. Now remember, early espresso, at least in the pencil, is kind of like reddish brown, so that's why it works so well with this. Now I'm going to bring my pecan pie, and we're going to work the pecan pie in the areas that right next to the early espresso, right? So for example, right next here, right next there, in this area where we kind of work the early espresso with. And yes, I am coloring a lot with the pencils in here, because I really, for some reason, her hair looks much lighter here, so I want to darken it a tiny bit. So that's kind of why. Okay, and with my early espresso, guys, I mean my pecan pie, I'm gonna go from that. Where is my other? Here it is. From these, you see this line? There's 2 lines there. I'm just gonna go like all through the hair, so like kind of like that, kind of like giving that movement. Okay, and I'm bringing the Cajun Craze, which is another shade of kind of like copperish color, and just go over it with it. But I am going to define, yes, with it a little bit of it in here. Now I don't see it in my notes, but I think we can use here either a lighter brown, which we don't have, guys. We don't have lighter brown. You can use crushed curry. Crushed curry is a dark yellow in the pencil, so you can probably bring a little bit, it would give it like a highlight of yellow. So, oops, I'm sorry. Before I introduce that, you can just use the crushed curry. So look how look it is and how good it looks. I don't want to bring a whole lot of things that you don't have. And the crushed curry is one of those things that you most likely have. And it gives it just a fine, fine tone. Now, I can bring this color, it's called beige. Let me put it in here. And it will work really well to kind of highlight some of the areas of the hair, right? Because it's not white, but it's light. And so we are going like I'm highlighting there, and I'm highlighting here, and I'm highlighting those two curls and the curling here, and it just looks really nice when you highlight that like that. It just gives it a much more movement. And let me show you the other one as well. So those are two different options. You can use white, but white would be too white, I think. So I would use, in that case, I would use a little bit more the crushed curry instead. Trying to see what that is. I think I'm gonna bring this is the early espresso, and I'm just like finishing this in here. For some reason it seems very separated. I don't know. Okay, so that looks very beautiful, I think. And you can add, I'm adding here some early espresso. I don't want to mess it up, so it's good as it is. Let's not mess it up. And now the last piece is the child, baby Jesus, and we're going to do his blanket real quick. And for his blanket, we use the early espresso and the crushed curry. So let's go ahead, and we're just going to do really softly all those areas where we added the cloud cover, remember? And if you don't remember, look in the back. So those areas where we added the cloud cover, that's where we're going to bring our early espresso. And again, all we're doing is kind of like making sure that those areas that should be dark because of the shadows are shadowy. And that's all I'm doing here. And now I'm bringing the crushed curry, and then we're going to go on top, just making it a little bit. Remember, crushed curry is much more of it's a yellow color. In the pencils, it's kind of like a pecan pie, I want to say. And I'm going to use white so you see the difference. I'm bringing the white. So I'm going to put white up here because I'm just doing highlights now. So the areas I think that there should be some extra light, right? So right here, remember, right here. So those areas, and if you see this, like it's too white, okay? So I just want you to see the difference. So this is the white, now bringing the beige that we used before, and so because this is just a softer shadow of that, and so it just works a little bit better. Yeah, let me remove the whites. The white is too white, I feel. So you know, I'm just using this same beige, although it's white enough, it's not super, super white, that you feel that, oh my goodness, where does that white come from, right? Okay. Doesn't that look gorgeous, guys? We didn't do the inside robe, and I'm interested. I don't think I did that. But part of the reason is crumb cake is very, very different from our browns. The browns we have in here, which are not many, is pecan pie, early espresso, and that crushed curry. And none of them, guys, look even like similar. If you do want to create a little bit more of a shadow, I don't want to bring another pencil, but these are the pencils I have and I use all the time. Lavender Gray, which is Prismacolor 1026, is probably one of my favorites because it really helps focus on that shadow. It's crazy. Like, it really looks shadowy when you use this. It just really takes away the color, and it's such a funny color. So I'm just like, just where we added those the cloud cover, remember, that would do. If we had, so I'm thinking if we had a cloud cover color, that would work well. And I'm just wondering if this one would work too as well. And I'm just going over it, guys. We're just practicing here. Probably this one I think looks a little better. I would use then, yeah, either that lavender gray or the slate gray that we use for Mary's robe. I think that helps a lot here with creating those shadows. And it just looks so beautiful, guys. I made a mistake in here. No matter what, guys, if you're using something really, really softly, it will work. And I'm just wondering, where is our gray? So let's remove this area and see if the gray will do, and how would that work. Because I think the gray will actually create, oh yeah, look at that. It looks really good on gray. So I would add to the supply list for his inside row, I will add the basic gray. I think that just created a gorgeous, gorgeous look, guys. Okay. Oof, wow. Man, these looks gorgeous. What you guys think? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Now, the funny part is that when I posted these in the demonstrators place in Facebook, everybody was so happy because I added the eyes. And quite frankly, I figured when I bought this set that I was gonna add the eyes no matter what. And what I have here is another image, and as you can tell, guys, I have to practice. I have to practice because I don't want to make the mess on my already finished area, but like I can see the eye here. See, like that. That's not going to work. And so we need the smaller eye. There you go. And her mouth in there. Baby Jesus is a little simpler. And then Joseph. Okay. So practice in another picture before you do it, so you kind of like have an idea. So I want her eye, one of her eyes here, and the other one there. And I don't like them. It needs to be a little lower, it looks like. So let's see. Maybe more like here and there. Yes, those will work. I'm going to erase more because I didn't erase well the first time. So softly, guys. 1 and 2. And now I'm going to bring her mouth in here. So let's see. It needs to be a little higher. What you think? I think that works. I'm going to turn baby Jesus to me. Oh no, those are too big. Okay. And I'm not loving Mary's. I'll have to figure Mary's here in a minute. And let's do Joseph for a minute. See if that works a little bit better. Okay, Joseph came in really, really well. Okay, if I don't think much about it, it works. It works fairly okay, I think. There you go. I'm trying to see. There's something I'm not loving about There. I had to move the mouth a little bit to the left. What do you guys think? And guys, now with a pen, I'm using our basic black pencil, not pen, pencil. I'm using our pencil. I'm just going to go over what I just did. Yeah, I'm going to like really put Joseph and softly, guys. You work very hard. You don't want to mess it up now. Okay. Ta-da! We made it. We made it, guys. I told you this is 2 hours and a half, and we didn't go through the other areas. But just as a reminder, this is how the other one looked, and we used quite a combination of colors in here. It's all in your supply list. I may have to finish another one anyways for the workshop. So what I will do, okay, let's do this one. I'm being lazy. I actually have already one stamped. This one is Stampin' Early Espresso, and I just like Early Espresso a whole lot more than I did this one. This one wasn't a gray. And so this piece was just also there, and it's called the manger. And we're going to start with the straw though. So we're going to use light blackberry bliss, and I'm going to bring another piece of these. Okay, so I have light blackberry bliss that I'm going to bring right here, and now I'm going to bring wild wheat. So dark wild wheat, and then our light wild wheat. I know that this is already retired, and I am sorry about that, guys, but quite frankly, they just work really, really well. And now bringing Darling Duckling. For the straw, it works really well, obviously, right? For obvious reasons. So let's go ahead and bring Darling Duckling. Darling Duckling and the wild wheat are a really good combination. Sorry, I lost my thought. And then I brought light lemon light, so it kind of gives a little bit of brighter yellows, and that's what we're going to be using. Okay, so we're going to start with the straw, and I'm bringing very carefully a little bit of the this is light blackberry bliss. So again, softly, guys, in this area, because that's where, you know, like that's deep, and there's not a whole lot we need areas in here, but I'm gonna do a tiny bit in there, and maybe a tiny bit in here. Those are areas that will be like darker, and I think we're gonna leave it at that. And now I'm going to bring the wild wheat dark, and we're going to go on top of these areas, and I think you know by now, on top and beyond. And yes, you will be able to see some of the blackberry blaze, so we do a couple passes on that area to help with the, you know, what we really want to achieve. And now on top and beyond. So let me explain a little bit of, if the light is coming from up here, right, all these areas from the bottom of the straw would be darker. These will be light and these will be light, but these areas will be darker. Okay, so that's the idea we're going to follow. So we put some blackberry bliss there. I am following the lines of the artist in here very much, because it really clears where he thinks that there will be light, right, and where he thinks it will be dark. And so we are going to follow that suggestion. Okay, And now I'm bringing our light wild wheat, and then just like we've done before, on top and beyond, on top and beyond. The top will not have a whole lot of lighter area, right? On top and beyond. Just put it wherever you put in just the areas you think it needs to go. Okay, and now I am bringing, this is a little space, so I'm bringing the light, the dark darling duckling, and I'm finishing this area with the wild wheat. You see, it's like I am totally trying to mix this as much as possible. Oh, this is one that I have not changed. Let me move this a teeny bit like this so you can see what I'm doing. So it's on top and, oh yeah, beyond. And then I am thinking I'm going to risk and go to light lemon lolly. Wish me luck, guys. No, it needs, good luck, Maria. Actually, it does not work that bad. So we'll just have to do a couple of passes on it. But look at it. It does bring that lighter area that we need. So there's areas where we'll need more. So they match very well or blend very well. But I think that that looks really, really interesting. We managed to get a completely different option than the other one. Isn't that crazy? And now we're going to color the manger, the wood part or the stand. And for the stand, we're going to use the skin tone. So we're going to use the 200, 400, and 600. And let me bring them up here. And I'm going to move all these out of the way. And we're going to start with the 200, okay? So I am going to start, and I'm using whichever, it doesn't matter. I am going to start with areas where I think there should be darker. So, okay, maybe with this one. Sometimes I think that these are better. So up here, that is one of the legs of the stand. That should be darker, right? Because it's underneath the whole stand. And I'm going to leave that as is, and then everything that is underneath the straw is darker. Right? Because there's no light there. And this is the stand all was stamped in black and in early espresso, and you can totally see it here. Right? How, you know? Okay. So all I'm doing, guys, is going over those areas where there should be darker because the straw is on top of it. Now I am bringing our 400 and we are going to go on top and beyond, just like we've done so many times before. And beyond, like really do the beyonding here. And there we go. We did on top and beyond here. And on top and beyond. And what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to bring with the 400 and do like that. So if I'm thinking the light is coming here, this area is darker, all this area is darker. And the light will shine in here and the light will shine in here. And I'm going to do a little bit of dark in there. And now I'm bringing our 600, and that's where we are just going to finish the rest of it. This one also has Stampin' Up's regular nibs or brushes. The problem with the brushes is that sometimes they just open up pretty quickly and then it's very hard to use them. And I like the brush a whole lot more than the nib, as you can probably see. Okay. So that was not painful at all, huh? I'm going with another pass of my 600, I'm sorry. There you go. That was super quick, wasn't it? So let's go ahead and bring the pencils. I also included pencils for this one where the early espresso, let me see, crushed curry or pumpkin pie and white. So crushed curry, we have early espresso, we have pumpkin pie. If you want to add some orange to it, I don't think I want to add orange to it, quite frankly, and white. And so let's go ahead and start playing here. So I'm bringing my early espresso and kind of coloring there where, and this is not, okay, this is not as soft as before. It's on a little bit more of a strength, pushing a little bit more because I really want to make sure that it is clear that that area is, there's a hole in there. A hole is probably not the right wording, but there is, you know, there is an area that is darker because there's, I don't know how you call it. Sorry, guys. But that is the area I'm just really focusing my early espresso with. And so, and I'm going to bring just a little bit around, guys. Just a little bit around, right? Not a whole lot. I really rather use the crushed curry for this. So I'm going to leave my early espresso. I'm going to bring the crushed curry. And with the crushed curry, yes, we're going to go on top of that early espresso and kind of soften it up a little bit. But as you guys can tell, guys, this looks really, really nice once you do that. And so I'm going to bring just, this is softly. And there you go. Now, I am thinking that if you really want, you can bring probably the Daffodil Delight and go over it. And it will make it a little brighter. Or you can just leave it like that. I'm going to bring the white just for these areas, which you can barely notice. There's some areas where you can probably part, but there's not a whole lot to it. But that looks so cute, guys. And so we are going to do now the stand, and the stand is Very Burst. So we have Very Burst in there, Early Espresso, Pecan Pie, white, and our friend the Pecan Pie. There we go. Okay, so Berry Burst is going to help us, guys, to create that darker area, to kind of like focus on the shadows a little bit. So I am just going to create that in here with the Berry Burst. And it does really help. I know it's really hard to see here, guys, but it does really help. And just like we've done before, very softly now bringing the early espresso and go on those areas. And oh my goodness, it just makes such a difference. I'm going just around a little bit with it. It just looks so beautiful. And I'm bringing Pecan Pie, and we're going to just go again all around it, just making these match really nicely. I really like how this is looking. And lastly, I'm bringing our white, and remember the tornado figure, so I'm just gonna make the tornado figure here and there, just a couple places. So I'm gonna soften this up a little bit. So I'm gonna say, guys, if you are willing to look at something else, you can always look at some of these colors. So I just want to show you, like, this is a really white, clear, it's called cream, but it's less white. So I think sometimes white is just, it gives that, it's too white. And I'm just trying looks in here with you guys. That's all we're doing. So I can put a little bit more white in there, or a little bit of this cream. So do you see the difference? Let's erase this again. Maybe if we use lighter, so maybe if we just do like super soft. There you go. It has to be really, really soft, guys. If you're going to use the white, it has to be soft, soft. Otherwise, it does, I don't know, it kind of like, you can totally see it. So you have to just make it really soft, guys. And so we're going to bring white. There you go, guys. That was quick. I'm super proud. We made it. And I'm going to color one of them. This one is the only one I'm going to say, quote unquote, I cheated because I used some Copics for it. And what happens, guys, is that if not, the color of the cheap are just too dark. I thought I had saved the other ones. I didn't even like them that much. I threw them away, it looks like. If you just can't use Stampin' blends because you have none other, then the color combination I used was light pebble path, crumb cake, and then light crumb cake, right? But here was my problem, right? Like, I don't know why, but I have the idea of cheap are whiter. So just imagine your cheap will be those colors. And I'm pretty sure if I look into my trash can, I will see them. But I just feel that I just wanted them whiter, and that's when I cheated. And so for the version we're going to do, I'm not going to use the pebble path. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on the pebble path, and I'm going to pass on the dark sorry guys, the dark crumb cake. I'm going to keep the light crumb cake, and I'm going to get 2 Copics, and those Copics are W1 and W00, and that's warm gray and warm gray. So W00 is very light, and then W1 is a little darker. So here is our crumb cake. We're going to bring, this is the W1, and then we have the W, which is, I don't know, just super, super light, right? You don't have to do this. I'm going to show you how I did this, and with this, and it's just basically the same concept. Let me bring them up here so you can see them. Maybe, yeah, there they are. It's the same concept. We're going to go on top and beyond. There it is. Well, maybe. No underpainting. So all I'm going to do is just go, you know, softly. Just these is softly because I really don't want a whole lot of darkness in here. So the areas that I think should need a little darker, that's where I'm putting my crumb cake. And there's not a whole lot of those areas. Let's just put it that way. And you're seeing, yeah, I'm just making sure you're seeing. So for example, that will be a little darker. The lower area of the ear, you know, the knees, the legs will be, and that's, you know, what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and bring the number 1, so W1, and go above and beyond. And above and beyond. If you are going to use Copics at all, just remember that they do react a little bit different with Stampin' Up. Inks. I don't know if it's me that thinks that is what's happening, but in the past I had a little bit more of a reaction, like not a super positive reaction. So okay, so all I did, guys, was on top and beyond, on top and beyond, right? And a little bit beyond in some areas. And I'll bring in the W's, yeah, 0, 0. And we're just going to go all over. Like this is one of those where I just, boom. And I'll show you what I mean here with it reacts. They react quite differently with the inks. Okay. Maybe it didn't do that bad, quite frankly. So there you go. Very, very simple. You can bring your, where is it? Your, Early Espresso, I forgot its name. And always have a nice tip on it. And then we can just like, but this has to be very softly because remember what I told you how different this color is. So it just does not create a good shade. Nope, I'm not going to use that one, guys. It's too much. But I am thinking we had discovered that gray was working really well. So we're going to sharpen that. And let's do some gray. Gray is what we need in here. Perfect. Look at how gorgeous that looks. That little shadowy area works really well with this gray in crumb cake. I never thought of using the crumb cake, guys. I mean the gray. So I'm super excited about this discovery. And I am not taking a whole lot of time in this because truthfully, it's a smaller image. You can't do a whole lot. I don't want to like, get super crazy in here. That worked really, really well. So I am going to update our supply list to include the gray because it just really helps. And the other thing that you could do, for example, if you wanted more like on the white option, is just leave it as is and bring the gray. I'm just wondering, guys. Let's see. This is gray granite. See, like some of them, like I think this is just meaning that I need to like look for. But you can bring like, let's try this. Let's try gray granite. So that's just light gray granite. We're trying it here where there should be a sorry guys, where there should be a shadow area, that's where we're going to add that. Just like that, very softly. And the other thing that I would think, if I could find it, that would be very amazing. Oh, here it is. Whoops, and just bring your color lifter and try to really, I guess, put a lot of alcohol in it, is what we're saying. And then see if it like really, really blends in, and it's working, guys. It's working. But you do need to use a lot of alcohol in it, right? So all the way. And there you go. That looked really nice. And then we can bring our gray, I think, and we can highlight, like really make the case for the areas that are shadowy, right? Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And that just looks amazing, guys. We did a wonderful job today. I have to say, I'm really, really liking it. Okay, let's bring our finished images so you can see. I hope you guys like it. I'm surprised that I managed to get more or less the same face. So these are our finished workshop. I'm going to update our supply list so you can have it there. But guys, we are done. Okay, we just took 3 hours. Come on, ain't that bad. Let me come back up here to say bye to you. Oops, here's the phone. Let me just move it up. There you go. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you learned a lot. Please, if you have any questions, either send me an email or write in the classroom so we can chat about your doubts, your issues, whatever you're thinking, and we can just learn together. Okay, thank you and have a good one. Bye.